What is up, my fellow mobile gamers? In this video, we're going to go over the importance of the perimeter shooting stat, and not having a high stat can actually be good. Sometimes it is better to have a lower perimeter stat. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to explain everything the best I can. Before we go, fly Eagles fly. Make sure you go ahead and watch the entire video until the end because there's a lot of good information. We went ahead, we are challenging Bradley Beal to a around the world shooting contest. Now, the big difference we're going to notice is that the lower your perimeter shooting, the slower that bar is going to actually move when you're trying to line it up in the box. And if you have a higher perimeter shooting, you'll notice that it will go a lot faster. So for instance, right now we are going to go ahead and we are using Derek White as our first example. He has a perimeter shooting stat of 15. You'll notice that as we are going ahead and shooting, in fact, on my very first shot, I'm actually not used to the timing because I'm used to using someone with a higher skill, that I actually go ahead and I'm very late on it. The other thing that I want to point out is when you have a lower perimeter shooting stat and you're doing these shooting drills, you'll notice that the bar that is kind of below and above the box is going to be a lot smaller. You need to be a lot more precise and try and hit it directly in the box or slightly below the box. Whereas someone who has a very high perimeter shooting skill, it's going to move a lot faster, but that green bar they have that's kind of going through the box is going to be a lot longer, more forgiving for you to not have it directly lined up with the box. You can kind of still make the shots even if you are off. And now for our fast example, we're going to be using Tobias Harris, players that I have leveled up pretty high. He currently has a perimeter shooting of 42.2. So we are then going to go ahead and we are challenging Kevin Herter to a 3-point shooting contest. Now this time you're going to notice, and I'm going to have these side-by-side images so you can kind of see the difference where it's a lot faster. You'll notice my first shot with Tobias Harris, I actually was too slow because I wasn't used to the speed. You'll see it goes up a lot faster. And you'll also notice that that green bar that goes through it is definitely a lot longer than the other player that we had who had a very low shooting stat for perimeter. Now, why this is important, you're probably wondering. Well, there are certain shooting drills where it's actually better for you to be more accurate, and having a slower moving bar is actually better and easier to kind of line up and hit that perfect shot. So something like a 3-point shooting contest is great for that because both players, you and the computer, are both getting 12 shots, and it doesn't really matter about who completes their shots faster. It's pretty much just who makes more shots than the other player. So that's a good example. On the flip side though, there are opportunities where you would want to use a player who has a very high perimeter shooting because they're going to shoot the ball faster. If you've ever challenged one of the all-world rarity players, you'll notice that they shoot the ball like crazy fast. And because of that, you want to use someone who has a very fast shooting bar, which would be a high perimeter shooting stat, when you're doing things like beat the clock and you want to try and get off as many shots as possible to beat your opponent and score more. Or also when you're doing things like around the world and you want to try and get around the world faster than your opponent. Another good example would be when you're doing the shooting drill 1st to 5. Whoever gets 5 points first wins. All right, next I want to talk about the shooting bar right here. We're going to go ahead, we're going to zoom in. You don't need to have your shooting bar line up perfectly in the middle of the box. The best way to kind of describe this is the box is pretty much the hoop. So think of it like this. If you get your little line to go directly in that box, that's pretty much like the ball going directly in with a swish, not touching the rim at all. And the way that I like to think about it is the lines that represent the box are kind of the rim of the hoop. So for instance, the top of that line, the top of the box, represents the back part of the rim. So this is the one that is not so forgiving as the other one. So if you overshoot it, 9 times out of 10, you're usually gonna miss because it's gonna hit the back iron of the rim. It's always better to actually kind of undercut it. If you ever shoot a basketball and you use too much power, 9 times out of 10, it bounces off and you miss. Whereas sometimes if you have that soft touch and you shoot it a little bit softer, it still has the potential to go in. So if you go ahead and you have below the bottom part of the box, you actually have a better chance for it to still go in. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. I hope you have a better understanding of how the shooting drills work. See y'all later. Peace.